Good afternoon. In this video, we're going to go with this past week's trades and the weekly recap. Before I get to the recap, if you're not in the room, you can find the link in the description of the video and in my bio section of social media accounts. Also, please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Now, I did finish the week with 16 wins and 0 losses for a win rate of 100%, so I had a flawless week. Getting straight into it, I'm going to try to make this quick. Let's see. Traded his room on the 10th. I said SPY calls over 604.50, making sure I have the 10th up. Going really slow here. What did I say? SPY calls over 604.50, which is up here. Didn't really do that. I didn't take a trade until... I didn't take a SPY trade until well, 10 o'clock. But I did. The first trade I took was QQQ. Okay, because QQQ apparently was stronger. So the 10th right here. See, I took what? The QQQ to 528 calls at 162. I took him at 945, which was right here when it broke high a day. I got him at $1.62, and they went from 162 to 280, so that ended up being a good play. Then I took calls on SPX at 1003, which is right here when it broke high a day. I took the 60-70 calls at 590, and they went from 590 to 890 right here. So you can see right here, Q didn't even make new low a day after the 10-minute candle was formed, and SPY did. So 10-minute candle on Q was green, SPY was deep red, so that's why I looked at Q and I was like, okay, Q is probably going to pop, so that's why I ended up looking at Q. I'll try to look at Q a little more, but it doesn't really move that well, but it moves better than SPY does on SPY's option, so I might look at it once in a while. But yeah, then I took calls again at 1028, which is right here. A big green candle, and you get this FU set up. So when it got over 604.50 or 55 or 60, somewhere in this area, as soon as I got over the bodies of these candles, I grabbed calls. I grabbed the 60-75 calls at 540, and they went from 540 to 730 on that play. So that ended up being a good start to the week, so I'm not going to complain on that. So now on the 10th, traded his room. I said SPY calls over 603.50, which is what, right over here, 603.50. Yeah, first 10-minute candle was super green, and just went inside and inside. But I did take the call at 9:36, so I think this is the one. I do remember the day. Yeah, this is the one. It's like, okay, we had a gap down. We gapped down quite a bit, so I was like, okay. As soon as it gets over that 603.50, I'm taking it. And it broke it right on the first 10-minute candle. Then it just went nowhere for a little bit. Then it finally popped. So it did end up going. So I had the 60-70 calls at 620, and they went from 620 to $7. It would have went a lot more if we had this candle right here. But it is what it is. Can't do really too much about it. So then I took calls again at 10:15, which is right here when it broke over high a day. So I grabbed the 60-70 calls again at 420, and they went from 420 to 910. So they went 100% on that one. Then I took calls at 132, which is right here. No, 132. Right here. Okay, yeah, right here. As you can see, the deep red candles came back up and pulled back, and it started to creep back up, and it was making a higher low. VWAP was getting bought, so I was looking at this area right here of 604.40ish, and as soon as it broke that, I grabbed calls. I grabbed the 60 calls at 650, and they went from 650 to 1340 in that, so that ended up being a 100% move on that. So definitely a good play on that. Then on to this was an inflation candle right here. This is Wednesday, so a big gap down, 605 down, $6 gap down, $6 plus gap down. So obviously with these massive gap downs, I'm looking in for a pop at the open, which I said was what? Traded A's room on the 12th. This is the 12th. Yep. SPY calls over 599.50, which is right here. And this one I took right when it broke that number, right when it broke 599.50. I took calls right on this candle. I didn't even wait the first 10 minute candles because usually when these massive gap downs at open, if they make it over an area, they usually just end up ripping, and it did exactly that. So I had the 60.35 calls at $7, and they went from $7 to $14.20. So that was a 100% move right there. Then I took calls again at 10.20, which is right here. Massive run up, red candle right there. Nice FU setup. As soon as I get over 601.50, I grabbed calls. I grabbed the 60.45 calls at 6.10, and they went from 6.10 to $14. So another 100% move right there. Nice play. This is what I was expecting. The reason this ends up happening is when you have these massive gap downs, everyone piles into puts at open, and then it just rips it open and takes everybody out. And usually when you have massive gap ups, I'm looking at the short side because everyone's piling into calls, and it usually ends up fading. So it's not 100%, it's 90-95%, especially on the gap downs. It's a definitely higher probability, and they just market makers just want to take people out. So yeah. Then I took puts at what, 11.07, which is right 11.07, right 11.07. Why do I say that's a loss? That's not a loss. 11.07, which is right here. For some reason I put a loss. This was not a loss. Let me just make sure the exits on that one. Which day was it? Yeah, 11.07. I got out. It's over $6. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it was not a loss. I didn't think I took a loss this week. Yeah. Okay. So you had the 610 puts at 470, and they went from 470 because I went from right here, and yeah, they went from 470 to 880. So it ended up being a really good play. Then on to, I didn't post the 13th or 14th, so on that, no, I did not post them on Twitter. I just been too busy. This week's been very busy. Got a lot going on, but anyways, I'll try to just guess where it is. See, on the 13th, Trade Data's room, I said SPY calls over 605, which is right up here. The first 10 minute candle was green. It was red. And the first play I took was SPX calls at, oh yeah, I remember this. As they broke, and it came back down. And when it broke that area, I got in, and it came back down. Didn't make new lower day, but it finally did pop. So I had the 1690 calls at $4, and they popped. If I had to guess, they probably went to 6+ on that. So then I ended up taking Tesla. Next play was Tesla. Let's see, on right here, which was the 13th. Yeah, I took Tesla puts at 11:30. Right here, right there. Yeah, I get these. I remember this. Big red candles. FU set up right here. As soon as it got below 353, I took puts. I took the 350 puts at 460, and they probably went to close to $6. Just guessing on the what they went to. I'm not quite sure. I'm just gonna guess because I didn't post what they were. So I'm gonna guess. So bear with me if I'm wrong. Then I took SPX calls at 12:46, which is right here, right when it broke over this area. I grabbed the 6090 calls at 720, and did I sell it right away on that? 12:46. Oh yeah, this is where Trump was talking. Okay. Yeah, I do remember this now. Okay, this is where I got in right here on this, thinking we were gonna pop before Trump got in, and it didn't. We ended up dropping, And then I ended up buying puts at 1157, which was right here when it broke below 606. So yeah, I had the 6090 calls at $7.20 right here, looking for a quick pop before Trump had his press conference. He didn't, and then when it started to drop, I was like, okay, I'm going to turn this into a straddle. So I kept my calls. I added the put. I bought puts right here, and I bought the 60/70 puts at 680, and it dropped. So, and those puts I think went like to $12, $13. They went pretty good. So I sold my puts right here. I held on to the calls, and when the calls went up, I sold them. Let me see. I gotta double check. One of them I didn't finish. Yeah. See, I only sold a portion of my puts at $12 right here, so they paid for themselves. Then when the calls, I dumped the calls on the way up. So yeah, I didn't sell all my puts, but I sold enough of puts to make it worth it. And when the calls took off, calls made enough to balance it out too. So it ended up working out pretty good. So, and Trump just, I don't think, he never showed up. I mean, they just were doing press conferences, and the SPY was just freaking out, and I was just wondering, okay, I'm holding this, waiting for Trump, waiting, and he just never showed up. Then I just ended up just dumping the calls on the profit, and I could have held them more, but I didn't think it was going to pop, because we were talking about reciprocating tariffs, and to me, that sounded like it was going to be pretty bad. So that is why I sold a good portion of my puts. I'm glad I did, because I sold them at like $12 or something. And I'm glad I did, and I didn't get greedy and want 20, because I remember I had an order set for 20 for the rest of my puts, thinking that the bad news was going to come when Trump finally came on and it was going to dump. So I did sell some of my puts, hang on to a few just in case, and just then it popped. I was like, okay, there's no Trump. Trump's not coming out yet, and calls are popping. So as soon as the calls went green and they got a little bit of profit, I took the calls and dumped them, and still waiting for Trump, and he just didn't come. So I was like, okay, I got out of my calls, I got good profit on puts, but I kept a couple puts just in case, and it just rockets. It didn't work out. I just kept waiting and waiting for Trump to show up for the press conference. We had the live stream in the room, and he just wasn't going live. But we were seeing on Twitter that he was talking, so he was having a private news conference, but it wasn't live. It was just a total mess, and I would have played that so much different if I knew what was happening, but it just didn't work out, but whatever. Friday, traded his room. I said SPY puts under 609, which is down here. It didn't stay elevated, it stayed in the range. So I took Tesla puts at 934 right here, and it made new 934. I took it right here. Why did I take it here? I think I took it based off this right here, right off the 389.20 or 358. Maybe it was on the 358. Yeah, I think that's when I took it. I took the 355 puts at 270, and they ended up dumping right here. Yeah, if I had to guess, the 355 Tesla puts went from 270, probably 5, or maybe 450 or something. Can't quite remember. Then I took puts again right here at 959, which was kind of crazy because this was the inside candle, but I don't know. I think I was getting frustrated with SPY not doing anything. And when it broke below 352.70, I took puts again. This time I took the 350 puts at $2.30, and I think they didn't really go that much. I think they only did like 260 or 270 right there. If I look on what I sold at, yeah, 260, 250. So yeah, I didn't really go that much, but they finally did drop. Then I took 6100 puts at 1210, which is right here. When it popped up the VWAP and came back down, when it broke underneath the 609, 65 areas where I grabbed the puts. I grabbed the 6100 puts at 450, and they went from 450 to probably, if I had to guess, probably $6 or $7 right here. So that ended up being a good play. I caught that move. I wasn't quite sure if it was actually going to drop. because it's been staying in a range. But yeah, so good week. I'm not going to complain. 100% week. Whenever you have a 100% week, definitely be grateful for that. Even though I played a couple things, I think I could have played the Trump thing better, but I just didn't know what was happening, what was going on. So I was just waiting for him, and I don't know. There's not much I can do about it except look back and just glad I made the right decision for once. So that's going to do it for the recap. I hope this has helped, and thanks for watching.